crypto.com, we hear about them canceling deals. What is OKX doing right now? Are you in a position where you are having to cancel marketing deals, advertising?
Absolutely not. It's actually the exact opposite. And look, when everyone was investing, I'm not going to name names, but there were a bunch of top 5 venues and firms in crypto. They were investing quite aggressively, and arguably everything got priced up because crypto companies were throwing a lot of money at these sports games. We held back very intentionally. Why do that when everyone else is shopping? Our theory was we should save our dry powder, let the markets pull back, let everyone else run out of budget, and that's when we should go strong. That's when we should have a very deliberate, intentional message for the market.
And I'm curious, what markets do you think are best positioned right now to create the next generation of crypto platforms?
So, when I look at engineering velocity, if you look back at the last 10, 20 years, 2 decades, you see a lot of innovation in tech come from Western markets, mainly Silicon Valley. Then we started to see some incubation in Europe. You see the rise of Spotify coming in and challenging, Apple Music and others in the US. Now when I look at GitHub instances, when I look at the engineering talent and where the best talent is residing, it's actually Asia. It's not the US, it's not the European markets either. It's Singapore, it's Hong Kong. And so, if I use a venue that's licensed in the US and regulations are quite strict, almost not common sense regulations in the United States, you'll notice that the utility on those platforms is very limited. Again, I don't want to name the venues, but you guys probably know what those top brand names are. So you use that and then you come to venues that were incubated and founded in Asia. There is just so much more utility within a centralized experience and within a DeFi experience. It's not just about buy, sell, trade anymore. It's about staking. It's about decentralized applications. It's about NFT marketplaces. It's about a decentralized exchange, a DEX aggregator. So that's the next generation of innovation. And Samuel, I think you and I spoke about the fact that I believe that the next 5-10 years of innovation is coming out of Asia. It's not coming out of Europe and the Americas.
And I'm just curious, we talked yesterday about so many companies that are based in Asia because of the strict COVID restrictions, and I'm not just talking about China, I'm talking about all down the east side of Asia. A lot of them have set up shop here temporarily, and I don't know how many will go back. And a lot of places have found this climate, they like the heat, but also the economic climate, the ability to travel east and west from here. Do you think a lot of companies will keep their footprint here and maybe not as many go back to Asia?
If you're referencing Dubai, I think it's a very special use case. Dubai is very interesting because I'm seeing a lot of teams, including ourselves. We opened up an office in Dubai. We have ambitions to scale up to Abu Dhabi, work more closely with the governments. So the investor and trader base in UAE, Saudi Arabia, GCC countries is quite interesting. The economics of each market are very different. Like if you look at Asia, the buying power is lower. There tends to be more sort of speculative trader behavior. You look at Middle East, it's a little more thoughtful and responsible. People have a higher buying power index, and they're typically more long-term investors and diversification investors. And in the US, it's a very different adoption scale. So I do believe, to answer your question, we will see more companies established here, more blockchain services established here. And I hope that regulators locally in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, they really have an open mind on how they think about these frameworks. They don't think about this as a broker-dealer license framework. They think about it as a blockchain services framework.
I just have 2 more questions for you. One, continuing this theme, international borders. OKX had taken some criticism for continuing to operate in Russia or with Russian clients. Now, actually, in the past week, your site hasn't been operational there, according to reports, because of the Russian government. What's the status there, and what do you think will happen?
Look, I think philosophically, we're not in the business of politics. We're in the business of financial access and mobility. It's not for us to decide which people in which part of the world get to access these things and not. I think we can all agree healthcare should be universal. Everyone should have access to good healthcare. Everyone should have access to communications. You should be able to connect with your family, friends, and peers. And then just in the same way, I think everyone should have financial access. everywhere. So it's not for us to decide whether we block Russia or not. Now, in specifically the Russia case, for us, our applications on Android and Apple App Store are functional. People's funds are safe. I can tell you this, that we are working with the prosecutor's office, and we're trying to figure out what really happened, what led them to block our domain. We haven't received any notice, but what I can tell you is this week our legal teams, our compliance teams are working with the local Russian authorities to try and figure out. We always try and work with the local governments. We take a very common sense approach, and we will continue to service customers in Russia. There's no sort of appetite for us to block them.
And then lastly, what do you market in this type of environment? I mean, with crypto coins low, when we saw what happened with stable coins, algorithmic stable coins, I should point out. From a marketing perspective, not just leaning in with budgets the way you're talking about, but what's sexy right now?
Maybe an unpopular opinion. If you're a trader and you're listening to this conversation, I think USDC is quite sexy. The reason is we have done our audits. We believe in USDC's ecosystem. So we're one of the first venues to have 100 plus USDC pairs. We think it's a great way for traders to settle their trades in USDC. There's a lot of utility within that ecosystem. Now, the other thing I think...
coins pegged to the US dollar.
Correct. And we believe it's the most reliable network in light of what happened with Luna and what have you. It's not over-leveraged, so on and so forth. Now, for the rest of the folks who are not traders, this is a great time to explore innovation. Innovation that excites you, that pulls you in naturally into that rabbit hole. Maybe you like a certain type of utility. I think this is the time when you should maybe invest in that project. Lean in, learn a little more because the prices are low. And it's a matter of time where we are likely to see another bull run in Bitcoin, probably correlated to Bitcoin halving.
Haider Rafique, glad you could make it here, Chief Marketing Officer over at OKX. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sammy. Thanks, everyone.
I'm going to stay up here for our next panel and shake your hand.